Okay. Today I will say about the data processing processes or the data processing steps of hyperspectral remote sensing images. So my first question is why the data processing is needed. Any kind of image processings are practiced to interpret the images, and that can either be multispectral or superspectral or hyperspectral or microwave. For each of these category of images, the image processing rules will be varied because the different type of images from different sensors will have different types of natures and the database structures. So for each and every type of images of each and every type of sensors need some kind of different type of image processing rules or the image processing algorithms. In case of the hyperspectral image, the interpretation as well as the image processing techniques both are quite complex due to the presence of the huge spectral band and the complex image nature. The challenges are issued by four basic problems like data volume, data redundancy, need of the calibration, and image dimensionality. So, in case of the data volume, the hyperspectral datasets are huge in volume rather than the conventional multispectral or superspectral dataset. Because for multispectral and superspectral dataset, we can have the number of bands of about 6 to 11 or 15 at least. But in case of the hyperspectral, we can get the number of bands about 100 to 200. So in this respect, we can say that hyperspectral images are of huge size and the data volume is huge rather than the multispectral and the superspectral. The huge band count is the basic causative factor behind this huge dimensionality. Though the advancement of computational system has decreased or minimized the stresses, the respective volume induces some processing complexity. So what does it mean? So today, due to the advancement of the technicalities and the computing systems, we can get some advanced computers having the solid state drive or high processing speeds. So these kind of computational systems or the architecture of the computer can able to handle all kind of the database, and nowadays we can analyze the big data using Hadoop like processing systems. So it is very advantageous for us, but although there are some kind of advancements in the technicalities or the computation systems, the huge data volume of the hyperspectral images have created some complexities in case of the image processing. So now, what is the redundancy? It is a basic statistical fact that higher the population, higher will be the redundancy. Here, the spectral response of an image object, so here the spectral response of an object per band can be considered as population. So the term population is a statistical term or statistical in nature. In statistics, we can said the samples as population. So in our image processing, the the spectral response or the spectra per object per band can be said as the population. So these kind of spectra or spectral response of the bands are used in image processing. So here the spectral response of an object per band can be considered as the population. So as in hyperspectral image dataset, there are a large number of spectral bands for a single object. Similar spectral responses can be presented by sum of bands. and this will cause an information repeativity, and this repeativity can affect information purity. This kind of repetitiveness is known as the redundancy. As an example, we can say that suppose for the case of the multispectral, we can get the informations about vegetations from the near infrared band or the green band. Suppose for the case of the water, we can get the response of water from the near infrared band and also from the short wave infrared band. So here for a single object like vegetation or like water, we can get this informations, we can get the informations about these single objects from numbers of bands. Like for water, we can get the informations from the short wave infrared or near infrared. For vegetation, we can get the informations from the near infrared and the green band. So this kind of repetitiveness or repeativity is causing the redundancy in the database. Though in case of the vegetation, the spectral response in green band is quite different from the near infrared band. But if we want to view the vegetation from the red band, then we can get quite similarities between the red information and the green information. So then we can get the redundancy about the database. So this is basic cause. This is the basic causes of this redundancy. So the redundancy is basically caused due to the repetitiveness of these informations. So in hyperspectral image, an information of one band can be partly or fully predicted by another band or by the other bands. So principal component analysis like statistical techniques can be an effective process to reduce that redundancy. So then come for this atmospheric correction and why this atmospheric correction is needed. So due to the fine spectral resolution, a confusion may happen between atmospheric absorption feature and the land cover absorption features. So to make these discriminated, the spectral calibration or atmospheric correction is very needed. And but in case of the multispectral, we cannot get such kind of problems, because in multispectral images the spectral resolutions are not so fine like that of the hyperspectral or the superspectral, and this kind of problem is only pertinent in the fine resolution fine spectral resolutions like hyperspectral dataset. And lastly, the dimensionality problem. So what is this? It is a very common fact that high spectral dimensionality can cause problem of training site selection for extracting the spectral signature during the supervised classification technique. So what is this? In the next slides, after getting finished this hyperspectral remote sensing technique, I will give you the materials about the supervised classification technique. So in case of the supervised classification techniques, the informations about the objects can be extracted in terms of the spectral signatures by selecting the training samples or the training sites. And using these training sites, we can extract the spectral signatures about the object, and using different kind of the spectral distance based algorithm, we can make a cluster of the pixels having similar to nearly similar spectral response, and those kind of the clusters can be considered as the class or the spectral class, and hence the classification can be achieved. So in case of the images having the huge spectral dimensionality, the training site selections can be so complex in nature.